Hello, and thank you for joining this lesson. If you want to boost your performance, then this video is for you. You need to solve this paper fully, section A and section B. Therefore, kindly step to the end so that you can learn, revise, and prepare for your final exam. Not saying much, you need to start with section A, which has 30 marks. During a lesson, learners observed the following hazard symbols. Each one of the following symbols represent corrosive substances. Here we have some symbols A, B, C, D. Which one do you think represents corrosive substances? Start with it is not A. A is for radioactive substances. So it is not B. B represents health hazard symbol. Some books call it carcinogenic substances. Therefore, it is not corrosive. What about C? This one represents electric shock. Therefore, the one that represents corrosive substances is D. You can see that it shows a substance eating away at a hand, and therefore, this one represents corrosive substances, and therefore the answer is D. Number 2. Grade 9 learners from Moi Educational Center reported scientific information on a table as shown below after carrying out an experiment on simple circuits. So here I have a table, number of dry cells and voltmeter readings. Which basic scientific skill did they apply to report the information as shown above? So this is the leading information as shown above. We have A, classification, B, communication, C, observation, D, conclusion. Which one is the correct answer? To start with, it is not conclusion. Conclusion refers to ability to make final statements from findings, and therefore it is not conclusion. Also, it is not observation. Observation is from watching, and then we have communication and classification. So, according to me, it is not classification because classification refers to grouping or organizing things according to their similarities and differences. And therefore, the answer is B. It is communication. Why communication? Communication involves sharing findings verbally, or it can be through writing. You can see here they were able to write, and therefore it is communication. And therefore, the answer is B. Continue to question number 3. Natasha, a grade 9 learner, listed the following as careers related to integrated science. Which one was not correct? A, radiology, B, forensics, C, catering, D, teaching. Which one do you think is not correct? So to start with, radiology, this one is science related. It is medical imaging, things like X-ray. What about forensic? Also, this one is science related. This one is about crime investigation, and therefore it is related in science. What about teaching? Yes, you can become a teacher, so it is related to science. What about catering? Catering is about food services, and therefore this one is not correct. The answer is C. We continue to question number 4. The following are common hazards in the laboratory. Which common hazard is not correctly matched with its cause? So here we have the hazards and the causes. We have A, poisoning, inhaling corrosive substances, chemicals. B, we have scalds, hot liquids or steam. C, we have burns, open flames. D, we have suffocation, inhaling poisonous gases. Start with, it is true, scalds is caused by hot liquid or steam. Even burns is caused by open flames, and even suffocation is caused by inhaling poisonous gases. What about A? A is saying that poisoning is caused by inhaling corrosive substances. That one is not true. So poisoning is caused by ingesting toxic chemicals, not inhaling corrosive chemicals, and therefore the correct option is A. Continue to question number 5. Which one of the following items found in the first aid kit is used to cover wounds and keep off germs? So to start with, here we have cotton wool, B, bandages, C, antiseptics, D, gloves. Which one do you think is the correct option? To start with, it is not cotton wool, because cotton wool is used to clean wounds but not suitable for covering because fibers may stick. What about antiseptic? This one is used to kill germs, and therefore it is not the answer. What about gloves? Gloves protect the first aider, not the wound. It's not used to cover the wound. Therefore the answer is B. Bandages is used to cover the wound. Continue to question number 6. The diagram below shows a certain laboratory apparatus used by grade 9 learners during a practical lesson. So remember, as always, I usually give a question as assignment. So what is the name of these apparatus? What is the function of the apparatus above? So here we have some options. A, to pour liquids into containers with narrow necks. B, to separate immiscible liquids. C, to add controlled amount of liquid into reaction vessels. Then D, to put liquids into reaction vessels with long necks. So I want to know what is the name of these apparatus and what is their function. So kindly tell us in the comment section. Continue to question number 7. Mr. Mutiso accidentally mixed sodium chloride and iodine crystals. Which method of separating mixtures will you advise him to use in order to obtain the original substances? A, crystallization. B, sublimation. C, simple distillation. D, evaporation. Which one do you think is the best method? So to start with, it is not evaporation. Evaporation is usually when you want to separate things like maybe salt and water. It's not simple distillation. This one is for separating liquids with different boiling points. So you remain with the two, crystallization and sublimation. So according to me, you know that iodine crystals, when heated, they sublime. This means they change directly into a gas. So if you want to separate these two, you can use sublimation. And therefore, to me, the answer is B. I don't know what about you, which one is the correct answer. Continue to question number 8. Grade 9 learners visited Changamwe Oil Refinery during the educational trip in Mombasa to learn more about applications of methods of separating mixtures. Which method was applied in the refinery to obtain petrol from crude oil? A, fractional distillation. B, evaporation. C, solvent extraction. D, sublimation. Which one do you think is the correct option? To start with, sublimation is used to separate substances where we have one substance that sublimes directly into a gas. For example, bean crystal, dry ice, and etc. So this one is not the correct option. What about solvent extraction? Even that one is not the correct option. What about evaporation? You cannot use evaporation to separate petrol from crude oil. So we use what we call fractional distillation, and therefore the answer is A. We continue to question number 9. Which one of the following is not a physical property of magnets? A, magnets attract magnetic materials. B, the bar magnets rest in north-south direction when suspended. C, the strength of the magnet is greater at the poles. D, the unlike poles of magnets repel. Which one do you think is not a physical property of magnet? So starting with A, magnets attract magnetic materials like iron. That is true. Bar magnets rest in north-south direction when suspended. You know that one is true. When you suspend it, it is going to rest in north-south direction. It aligns with the Earth's magnetic field. What about C? The strength of magnets is great at the poles. That one is also true. What about D? The unlike poles of magnets repel. That one is not true. You know that the one that repels is like. So if you have another pole and another pole, they repel. So like poles repel, unlike poles attract, and therefore the correct option is D. Number 10, I hope you're following. The form of energy that comprised of both potential and kinetic forms of energy is called, A, we have chemical energy, B, electrical energy, C, mechanical energy, D, nuclear energy. Which one do you think is the correct answer? To start with, it is not nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is energy from splitting or joining atomic nuclei. What about electrical energy? This one is not true. It is energy due to flow of charges. And also chemical energy, not true. And therefore, the one that comprises potential and kinetic is mechanical energy. So the answer is C. So potential is by virtue of its state, and kinetic is by virtue of its motion. And therefore, when you comprise the two, it is called mechanical energy. We continue to question number 11. Sources of energy are classified as renewable or non-renewable sources. Which one of the following sources of energy is not renewable? So which one is not renewable? Here we have natural gas, B, charcoal, C, biogas, we have D, wind. So to start with, we know that wind is natural and endless. This one is renewable. What about biogas? Biogas is from decomposing organic waste, and therefore it is renewable. Even charcoal is renewable from wood, that is biomass. What about natural gas? This one is not renewable. We usually say that it is fossil fuel. It is formed from fossil fuel that is, it was formed millions and millions of years ago. Therefore, when it is depleted, it cannot be renewed again, and therefore natural gas is not renewable. It is non-renewable. We continue to question number 12. The following are steps followed when using a plant extract acid-base indicator to test whether the household solutions provided, we continue here, were acidic or basic but not in the correct order. We have Roman 1, use a dropper to add 5 drops of the plant extract in each of the solutions. Roman 2, observe the color changes. Roman 3, put 2 milliliters of the household solutions in separate test tubes and label them. Roman 4, arrange the test tubes in the test tube rack. So each one of the following shows the correct steps to be followed. So to get this, you can also look at the last 2 steps. So you know that when you want to observe, you use a dropper, you add 5 drops of the plant extract, and then you observe the color change. So you can use the last 2 steps. So we end with Roman 1 and Roman 2. So we come at the options, which one ends with Roman 1 and Roman 2? We can see the answer is A. So A says we start with Roman 3. You put 2 milliliters of the household solutions in separate test tubes and label them. After labeling, you arrange the test tubes in the test tube rack, and then use a dropper. You add 5 drops of the plant extract in each of the solution. Then finally observe the color change, and therefore the answer is A. Continue to the next question. The diagram below shows a setup of an experiment used by grade 9 learners to investigate some changes that matters undergo. Use it to answer questions 13 and 14. Very common question. So number 13 is asking, which observation did the learners not make from the above experiment? So we're knowing the word not make. The first thing you have to know that hydrated cobalt 2 chloride is pink in color. When you heat it, you're going to remove the water of crystallization. Hydrated means it has water. Therefore, when you heat it, the water will be removed. So we remain with anhydrous cobalt 2 chloride, which is blue in color. So it is pink. When you heat, we get the color changes from pink to blue. So the question is asking, which observation did the learners not make from the above experiment? So we start with A. Hydrated cobalt 2 chloride turned pink after heating. This one is not true. I've said after heating, it will turn to blue, not pink. Let us go to B. Hydrated cobalt 2 chloride turned blue after heating. That is true. C. Hydrated cobalt 2 chloride reduced in mass after heating. That is true because the water is removed, the water of crystallization. What about D? Any substance was formed when hydrated cobalt 2 chloride was heated. That one is also true. And therefore, the one that is not true is A. Number 14. Which type of change were the learners investigating? A. Physical change. B. Temporary change. C. Permanent change. Permanent chemical change. D. Permanent physical change. So for this case, this one is the same as heating hydrated copper 2 sulfate. So when you add water of crystallization, if you add the water, it will change from blue to pink. Same as for copper 2 sulfate. When it is blue in color, when heated, it is white. When you add water, it changes from white to blue. So the change is temporary chemical change. And therefore, the answer is B. Number 15. A compound is a pure substance made of 2 or more elements that are chemically combined. Which one of the following is not a compound? Sodium chloride. This one, it has sodium and chlorine. So this one is true. This is a compound. Carbon 4 oxide. This one has carbon, CO2. So it has carbon and oxygen. So this is true. It is a compound. What about water? The symbol is H2O. It has hydrogen and oxygen. Also, that one is a compound. What about crude oil? Crude oil is a mixture, not a compound. And therefore, the answer is C. Number 16. Fire can start due to natural causes or human actions. Which one of the following is a natural cause of fire? Cooking accident, electrical faults, lightning, arson. Which one do you think is a natural cause of fire? So to start with, it is not cooking accident. This is human-related cause. Even electrical faults, this one is human-related. And even arson, this is human action. It is intentional. For example, what happened in Retain Boys, it is known as arson, setting a fire when you know. So it is arson. So natural cause is lightning, and therefore the answer is C. Number 17. Different classes of fire have different ways of putting them out. Which one of the following cannot be used to put out class K fire? So you have A, use of water fire extinguisher. B, use of carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. C, covering it with a blanket if the fire is small. D, use of wet chemical fire extinguisher. So remember, class K consists of fire caused by things like oils like cooking oils and others. And therefore, we can use carbon dioxide to smother the fire, that is, we cut oxygen supply. We can cover it with a blanket, that is true. You can use even wet chemical fire extinguisher to put off and control the fire. What about using water fire extinguisher? This one is very dangerous, and the reason is because water spreads burning oil and therefore cannot be used, and therefore the answer is A. You continue to number 18. Also a very common question. The diagram below shows a setup used by grade 9 learners to investigate conditions necessary for rusting. This is to answer questions 18 and 19. You can see we have test tube A, iron nail water. Test tube B, you have airtight cork. You have test tube C, oil, and then you can see boiled water. Let's go to the questions. From the above setup, in which test tube did rusting take place? So which test tube did rusting take place? Is it A, B, or C? So we know that it is A. So rusting occurs when iron is exposed to oxygen and what? Oxygen and water. So when you have oxygen and water, this is oxygen and water, then we get what we call rust. And therefore, it will rust in test tube A. Therefore, the answer is C. Number 19. What was the purpose of boiling water for test tube C? The above setups, you can see for C, the water is boiled. So why do we boil the water? So A is saying to prevent entry of oxygen. That one is not true. This is the role of the oil. You can see here we have a layer of oil. So oil prevents entry of oxygen, and therefore that is not the answer. C, to absorb moisture in the test tube, not true. And even D, to speed up the rate of rusting. The rate of rusting, not the answer. And therefore, we boil to remove oxygen. The answer is B. Number 20. Sarah, a grade 9 learner, came across an atom of a certain element whose atomic number is 12. Which one of the following is a use of this element? A, it is used to make utensils. B, it is used as a medal for second position in a competition. We have C, it is used to make fireworks and missiles. D, it is used to make jewelry. So we know that 12, atomic number 12. From number 10, we have 11, we have sodium. So 12 is magnesium. So this one is for magnesium. Symbol is Mg. So used to make utensils, you know that this one is for aluminium, not magnesium. Used as medal for second position in competition. This one is not true. And what about used to make jewelry? That one is things like, we use things like gold, not magnesium. Therefore, magnesium, it is used to make fireworks. So when you see fireworks, use magnesium to make fireworks and missiles. And therefore, the answer is C. Number 21. Which one of the following excretory wastes is excreted by all the excretory organs? So excreted by all the excretory organs. A, excess salt. B, carbon dioxide. C, urea. D, excess water. To start with, eliminate B. Carbon dioxide, this one is only done by the lungs, and therefore it is not all. What about urea? This one is done by the kidney, not all. And even excess salt, this one is not done by all excretory organs. What about excess water? This one is true. Let us look at the skin. We have excess water. Kidney, excess water. Even the lungs, it excretes what we call carbon dioxide and excess water in form of water vapor. And therefore, the answer is D. Number 20, we continue. The diagram below shows the male reproductive system. Study it and use it to answer questions 22 and 23. So you can see here we have the male reproductive system. Number 22, the part marked X is called, so let us go back to our diagram. So X is pointing here. So this is the, it is called the urethra. So X is known as the urethra, and therefore the answer is A. 23. Which part of the above diagram produces seminal fluids in which the sperm swim? So we know that the seminal fluids are produced by the, for example, it is not testis. Testis produces the sperm. It is not sperm duct. This allows the passage of the sperm. It is not urethra. Therefore, the correct option, the one that produces seminal fluids, the semen, it is the glands. And therefore, the answer is B. 24, we continue. Number 24, don't get tired. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules from the region of high concentration to the region of low concentration through a semipermeable membrane. That is true. On The following are all importance of osmosis in plants except A. Uptake of water by root hair, support in herbaceous plants, opening and closing of stomata, depollination in plants. So this one is true, uptake of water, so water through osmosis, support in herbaceous plants. These are plants found in water or in where we have a water area. What about opening and closing of stomata? That one is true. What about pollination in plants? That one is not osmosis. Pollination is diffusion. Therefore, the answer is D. So the pollen grains, they move from the anthers, where they are highly concentrated, to the stigma, where they are less concentrated, and therefore it is diffusion, not osmosis. Number 25. What is the function of the part marked G in the diagram below? So this one is the a plant cell. So what is the function of the part marked G? So what is G? G is pointing here. G is the chloroplast. So what is the function of the chloroplast? So part A is saying to control all the functions of the cell. This one is for J, the nucleus. So that one is for J, not G. And then it is where water, salts, waste, and sugars are stored. This one is for I, the vacuole. And then we have D, suspends other components of the cell. This one is not G. And therefore, the answer is B. Chloroplast forms site for photosynthesis because it contains the chlorophyll, and therefore the answer is B. Number 26, from the diagram below, above, identify the part marked J. So J, we have said J is the nucleus. It controls all the cell activities and carries the genetic material of the cell. Therefore, the answer is A. Number 27. The description of type of teeth, the arrangement and specialization in animals is called dentition. That is true. This is grade 9 work. Each one of the following animals does not have heterodont dentition. So you know that we have two types. We have heterodont and homodont dentition. So heterodont means the teeth are not of the same size and shape. So for goat, that one is true. They have heterodont. Rat, that is true. Don't ask me why or how. That is true. A rat have different types of teeth, the shape and the structure. Even monkey, that one is heterodont. What about dolphin? Dolphin are homodont. Okay? Their teeth are of the same size and shape. Therefore, the answer is C. Dolphin is homodont, not heterodont. Number 28. Different types of teeth have different structures and functions. Which one of the following description is for molars? So they have one root. Molars don't have one root. They have 3 roots. That is not true. They are sharp-pointed. This one is for canine, not molars. They are chisel-shaped. This one is for incisors, for biting and cutting. And therefore, molars have cusps, or what you call ridges. And therefore, it is B. The answer is B. The reason is for chewing and crushing food. So the answer is B. 29. Digestion is the process through which complex food substances are broken down into simpler substances that can be absorbed in the body. Which one of the following digestive juices contains salts that are used for emulsification of fats? So when you hear emulsification of fats, you know that it is not gastric juice, it is not saliva. This one, saliva contains that enzyme called salivary amylase that digest starch, not pancreatic juice, and therefore the answer is B. So bile juice are the one which are responsible for emulsification of fats. Number 30. Interdependence is how living organisms interact with one another and the environment to survive. Each type of interrelationship between the biotic components of environment do one organism benefit and harm the other organism. So the most important here is one benefits and harm the other. So it is not saprophytism. This is where an organism feed on dead decaying matter, causing decomposition. It is not symbiosis. This is whereby two organisms live together in mutual benefit from each other. And it is not predation. And therefore the answer is parasitism. This is where one organism, the parasite feed and obtain nutrients from the other organism, the host, causing harm. And therefore the answer is A. Thank you so much for following along. We are done with section A. We continue section B. If you're following, let me know by liking this video. Thank you so much for your responses. I really appreciate it. Thank you for liking and also participating. Section B, 40 marks. Renowned learners from Ujabu Junior School weighed the mass of the wooden block shown below and found it to be 40 grams. They also measured the length, width, and the height of the block using a ruler and found them to be as 8 centimeters by 5 centimeters by 2 centimeters, respectively. Part A, you can see here we have the block. Which instrument did they use to measure the mass? So to measure the mass, we can use the beam balance. So we can use what we call beam balance. So we can use beam balance, or we can use what we call electronic balance or electronic balance. So we can use those two. We can use beam balance or electronic balance. Part B, convert the mass of the wooden block into the SI unit. So you can see here, the mass is 40 grams. So the SI unit of mass is kilograms. So you convert it into kilograms. You know that 1 kilogram, 1 kg is equals to 1,000 grams. So ask yourself, what about 40 grams? Then you cross multiply. So it will be 1 times 40 divided by 1,000. So it will be 1 times 40 over 1,000. So if we divide keenly by this 0, it will be 0.04 kilograms. So that is the mass in SI units. So please make sure you know how to convert units, because this one will come in the practical paper in your final exam, conversion of units. Part C, calculate the density of the wooden block in SI unit. So you know that for us to get the density, it is very simple. So that the formula for density is equals to mass over the volume. So we have the mass here in SI unit already. So we have to get the volume in SI unit. So volume of this block will be length times width times height. So we have the length here, but it is in centimeter. We have to change them from centimeters to meter. The SI unit of length is meter. So we convert all these into meters. So how do we convert into meters? We divide by 100. So it will be 8 over 100, 5 over 100 times 2 over 100. We want to say that the volume will be 8 over 100. Remember, converting into meters, times we have 5 over 100, then times 2 over 100. So if you multiply this keenly, you see what the answer is. But you multiply 8 over 100 times 5 over 100 times 2 over 100. You'll see that it is 8. So the volume will be 8 times 10 raised to negative 5 cubic meter. So to get the density will be mass over volume. So density will be the mass, 0.04 kilograms over the volume, 8 times 10 raised to negative 5 cubic meter. So when you divide this keenly, so 0.04 divided by the answer, we'll see it is 500. So the density is 500 kilograms per cubic meter. And therefore, that is the answer. We score those 2 marks. Continue to part D. Identify the laboratory apparatus whose functions are stated below, used to measure weight. So for measuring weight, we use what we call a spring balance. So here we use what we call a spring balance. So we use a spring balance. Part 2, Roman 2, used to store or dispense water. So can store water or dispense water into reaction vessels with long necks. So that one, you know, it is a wash bottle. So here the answer is the wash bottle. Wash bottle can store water or even dispense water into reaction vessels with long necks. What about support crucible when heating? You can use what you call pipe clay triangle. So you can use a pipe clay triangle, or you can even use a tripod stand with a wire gaze. So those are the apparatus that can be used to support crucible when heating: pipe clay triangle or wire gaze and tripod stand. From part E, the laboratory, experiments that produce toxic fumes are carried out in a room cold. So when you have some experiments that produces toxic fumes, we carry it in what we call a fume chamber. So we carry it in a fume chamber. So fume chamber, it is not clear, it is not well seen. So here it is the answer, fume, then chamber. So we can carry it in what we call a fume chamber. We continued with number 32. We are done with the number 31, 32. Below is a list of some organisms grade 9 learners came across during the educational trip in Nairobi National Park. We have acacia trees, giraffe, and lion. Part A, use the list of organisms above to make a simple food chain. So we're going to start with, so we know that acacia trees are eaten by giraffe and giraffes are eaten by lion. So we want to make a simple food chain. We need to say acacia trees. So we're going to start with acacia trees. Then you put an arrow to show the eater. Remember the arrow shows the eater, eaten by giraffe. And then the giraffes are eaten by lions. So eaten by a lion. So that's what we call a food chain. It is a simple linear sequence showing how energy flows in the ecosystem. Part B, from the food chain in A above, what will be the effect on acacia trees if all the lions in this ecosystem die? So we want to write on what will be the effect on acacia trees. So when all the lions die, know that the lions feed on the giraffe. So when all the lions are dead, then the giraffes will be more, and therefore they will feed more on the acacia tree. So we need to say the acacia tree will reduce in number. So acacia tree will reduce in number. So acacia tree will reduce in number. So acacia trees will reduce in number due to overgrazing, will reduce in number. So I've already explained. The reason is because we have more giraffes, so they will feed more on the acacia trees, hence they will reduce in number. Part C, identify one organism from the above list that belongs to the trophic level of primary consumer. So primary consumer, these are the ones that feed on directly on the producers. So for example, in this food chain, giraffes are the primary consumer. You can see they feed on the acacia trees, which are the producers. So you can say it is the giraffe. So giraffes are the primary consumers. So you're done with number 32. We continue to question number 33, which is a very good question. Question number 33. The diagram below shows the reproductive part of a plant. Use it to answer questions that follow. So you can see here we have some letters W, X, V. Part A. What are the names of the parts marked X, V, W? So you can see X is pointing here, V, W. So we're going to start with X. X is known as the stigma. So feathery stigma, you can see it has some things like feathers to attract and catch, not to attract, to catch pollen grains. So this one is called the stigma. So X is the stigma. So feathery stigma. What about V? V, these are the anthers. V is the anther. What about W? W is the petal. So W is called the petal. We continue to part B. It is the main agent of pollination of the above flower. So the main agent, we know that we have two agents of pollination, can be wind or insect. So this one is for wind. So this one is wind. So the main agent is wind. What is the reason? You can see here we have losing and hanging anthers. The anthers are hanging outside the flower to release pollen grains into the wind. And also the stigmas are feathery to catch the pollen grains. And therefore this one is for wind, not for insect. For insects, the anthers and the stigma are inside the flower. Part C. Name the parts of a flower whose functions are stated below. Produces pollen grains. So you know that this one is for anthers. Anthers produces the pollen grains. The answer is anthers. What about part B? Allows development of pollen tube. So this one that allows is called the style. So after the pollen grain has landed on the stigma, a pollen tube develops. So this one is the style. And finally, forms seed after fertilization. So you know that these are the ovules. So ovules are the ones that form seeds after fertilization. So it is ovules. We score those 3 marks. Part D. Seed and fruit dispersals is the mechanism by which mature seeds or fruits are spread from the parent plant to new locations. State any two adaptations of coconut that make it dispersed by water. So this is water dispersal. We know that coconut, it is hollow to reduce weight and make it float on water. So it is hollow to reduce the weight, make it easy to float on water. It has a hard waterproof cover that cannot absorb water. That is true. And finally, we have it has a fibrous coat. Yes, for coconut, it has a fibrous coat filled with air spaces. This one makes the fruit buoyant, meaning able to float on water. And therefore, those are the three adaptations. We have so many adaptations of how we can, of how a coconut is adapted to be dispersed by water. Continue to question number 34, another very good question. The diagram below shows the human digestive system. Study it and use it to answer questions that follow. You can see we have letters O, M, N, P. So identify parts marked. So O, you can see O. O is called the liver. So the name of O is the liver. What about N? N is the large intestine. So N is called the large intestine. So O, liver, N, large intestine. Part B. In which part of the above system does absorption of digested food takes place? So you know that digested food is absorbed in the small intestine, and therefore the answer, you know which part, and therefore we say it is P. So P, which you can even say it is the small intestine. So absorption of food takes place in the small intestine. And then we score that 1 mark. Part C. Complete the table below by filling in the blank spaces, 3 marks. You have part of the gut, the secretion, enzyme, food acted upon, and the product. For example, we have the mouth, secretion, saliva. Saliva contains which enzyme? Amylase. Food acted upon, it is starch. So starch is acted upon by amylase, get what we call maltose. Then here we have stomach, pepsin, protein, peptides. Now that stomach secretes what we call gastric juice, and therefore stomach is gastric juice. I'm going to write here. I know I have a very bad handwriting, gastric juice. So gastric juice, we have the enzyme is pepsin, which act upon proteins to get what we call peptides. Finally, we have intestinal juice, intestinal juice, peptidase, peptides, and then amino acid. So in here, intestinal juice, this one is for intestines. So the part of the gut is the intestine. So intestine, we have secretion, intestinal juice, enzyme, peptidase, the food acted upon, peptides, we get amino acids. We're done with number 34. We continue to question number 35 about chemistry. The diagram below shows the electron configuration of an atom of a certain element. Study it carefully and use it to answer questions that follow. You can see here we have an atom. Part A. What is the name of the subatomic particles found in the part marked R? So R is known as the nucleus. So you want the name of the subatomic particles. You know that inside the nucleus we have 2 particles. We have the protons and the neutrons. So we're going to say we have the protons. Protons are the subatomic particles, and we have the neutrons. So these are the subatomic particles. So we score 1 mark. Part B. Classify the element whose atom is shown above as a metal or an nonmetal. So for you to classify, you look at the outermost energy level, you count how many electrons are there. So this is the outermost energy level. There's how many electrons? 1, 2, 3. You know that for metals, they have either 1, 2, or 3 electrons in the outermost energy level. So you can see this one has 3, and therefore it is a metal. So we're going to say it is a metal. So we're going to say it is a metal. So it is a metal. And then we get 1 mark. Part C. If the atom shown above has 14 neutrons, show the correct atomic representation of this atom. So in here about representation, so if you have, for example, an atom, maybe you can use X. So we know that here we put the mass number, then here we put the atomic number. So A is for mass number, then Z is for the atomic number. So we go to, you can see, and it has 14 neutrons. What about how many protons are there? you can count the number of electrons. The first energy level has 2, 1, 2. Second one is full, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2, 8. Then the last one has 1, 2, 3. So 2, 8, 3. So if you add, is equals to 13. So its atomic number is 13. So to get the mass number, so mass number A will be the number of protons Z plus number of neutrons N. So the mass number A will be, it has 13 protons plus 14 neutrons. So you can see that A is equals to 27. So we're going to say we know that this is aluminium because aluminium is number 13. So we're going to write the symbol for aluminium. So aluminium is Al, capital A, small l. And then we have that the mass number is 27. Then its atomic number, it has 13 protons. So 27 and then 13. And then we score those 3 marks. Part D. Which method of softening hard water is used to remove temporary hardness only? So you know that we have two types of water hardness: temporary water hardness and permanent water hardness. So that the one that is used to remove temporary hardness only is boiling. So it is boiling method. So the answer is boiling method. This one is for removing temporary water hardness only. So answer is boiling method. Part E. Identify the methods of separating mixtures that are used to separate the following mixtures: dry ice and sodium chloride. So anytime you see dry ice, remember that when you heat it, it's going to change directly into a gas. So it sublimes, and therefore we need to use sublimation method. So sublimation method. So when you hear dry ice, camphor, iodine, ammonium chloride, when heated, they change directly into a gas. So you can use sublimation method. Roman 2. Saturated solution of copper 2 sulfate. So copper 2 sulfate, these are crystals. So when you separate, you can use what you call crystallization method. So we use what you call crystallization. The method here is crystallization method. Crystallization. So you can use crystallization method to separate what we call saturated solution of copper 2 sulfate. So if you want to obtain saturated solution, you use crystallization. So we obtain the crystals. We are done with number 35. We continue to number 36. The diagram below shows a setup used by grade 8 learners to demonstrate energy transformation in nature. What is energy transformation? So we define what is energy transformation. Energy transformation refers to how energy is converted from one form to another. So it is the change of energy from one form to another. So it is the change, or you can say it is the change of energy. It is the change of energy. Change of energy from one form to another. From one form to another. From one form to another. So that is what I mean by energy transformation. We continue part B. Set the correct energy transformation that takes place in the above setup when the switch is on. So when the switch is on, so here we have the switch. When you close the switch, current is going to flow and the buzzer is going to give some sound. So buzzer gives sound. Here we have dry cell. Dry cell, the type of energy stored is chemical. So from chemical, we have the flow of electricity. From chemical to electrical. From electrical, we're going to hear some sound. So buzzer produces sound. So from electrical, we get sound. So the energy transformation is chemical from the battery. We're going to say chemical energy. Chemical energy. We go to electrical energy. Electrical energy. Electrical energy. Finally, from electrical energy, you go to what we call sound energy. So buzzer, you produce the sound. So sound energy. And then you score that 1 mark. Part C. Below is energy transformation that takes place in a certain appliance when in use. Electrical energy converted to mechanical energy. Identify the electrical appliance in which the above energy transformation takes place. So when you have electrical energy to mechanical, for example, you have electric fan inazunguka kwa nyumba, so that is mechanical energy. From electrical energy to mechanical, you have electric fan. electric fan. We have what we call electric motor, and so on. So he scored 1 mark. For that 7, about pressure. Mr. Mwangi, a grade 9 integrated science facilitator, displayed the cross-section of a water dam shown below on a whiteboard. So you can see we have a water dam. At the top, it is very thin. The wall is thin, but at the bottom, we have a thicker wall. Explain the reason why the water dams are constructed with the thicker walls at the base. 1 mark. So you know that this is pressure. You know that water pressure increases with the increase in depth. So water pressure increases with depth. So the base experience greater pressure and it needs a thicker wall to resist it. So that's why dams at the bottom we have thicker walls, because you know that pressure increases with the increase in depth, and therefore you need a thicker wall to resist that pressure. So we get 1 mark. Number 38, part B. State any other 2 applications of pressure in liquids to marks. So where do we apply pressure in liquids? Applied in hydraulic brakes. This is where pressure applied on brake fluid is transmitted equally, stopping the vehicle. So when you press the brake pedal, pale mbele kwa gari, the pressure is transmitted by the brake fluid and stops the vehicle. Also, we have water supply systems. Pressure enables water to flow through pipes and reach taps. So that is application of pressure. Even drinking straw, we are able to drink a liquid in a bottle through what we call pressure in liquids. These are the applications of pressure in liquids. You can see that is the end of our video. Thank you so much for following along. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also share to your friends. All the best as you prepare for your final exam. I wish you the very best. See you in the next video.